If you've been married for 40 years and still feel unsure about where or how to truly touch your wife, you're not alone. In fact, thousands of men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s are getting it wrong. Not because they don't care, not because they haven't tried, but simply because no one ever taught them. No one told them that what worked in your 20s or 30s might not work now, that a woman's body changes, and so do her needs. I'm Dr. Laura, a urologist and professor with more than 3 decades of experience helping men understand sexual health intimacy and the realities of aging. I've spent years working with couples who thought their best days were behind them until they discovered what I'm about to share with you today. Here's what might surprise you. According to the latest research, the places you were taught to focus on, like the clitoris, may no longer be top of the list. And more importantly, there are areas that many women over 50 actually wish you would avoid, not out of dislike, but because those zones can become overly sensitive, even painful. In this video, I'm going to reveal 3 places women over 50 truly want to be touched, and 3 they don't. And more importantly, I'll explain how to touch in a way that builds trust, connection, and even excitement, no matter how long it's been. So stay with me, because later on, I'll reveal the most misunderstood zone of all, the one most men think is a turn-on, but that many women secretly dread. Before we dive in, if this topic speaks to you, if you're looking for honest, research-backed advice on intimacy, aging, and deeper connection, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss a future episode. And if you find this helpful, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. Your feedback helps me serve you better. All right, let's talk about what really matters. Based on recent studies involving hundreds of women, especially those in midlife and beyond, we now have a much clearer picture of where women truly want to be touched. And it's not just about sensation, it's about safety, presence, and feeling deeply seen. 1. The entrance of the vagina. This may come as a surprise, but for many women over 50, the entrance of the vagina is one of the most emotionally and physically sensitive places on their body. It's not about going deeper. It's not about speed or intensity. It's about presence, about patience, about gentle, grounded contact. Over the years, I've heard this again and again from my female patients. This spot, when approached with care, evokes feelings of trust, safety, and deep connection. Especially for women who've experienced childbirth, menopause, or even surgical procedures, this area holds emotional weight. It's more than physical, it's symbolic. It's the threshold, the place where intimacy begins. Too often, men rush past it, thinking of it as a stop on the way to something more. But when you pause, make eye contact, place your hand softly, and simply be there, not as a performance but as a partner, it changes everything. Slow circular movements, soft pressure from the palm or fingertips, a whispered word. These details matter. In our later years, intimacy becomes less about urgency and more about assurance. It's not about doing, it's about being with. And this area, when touched with awareness, becomes less a doorway and more a destination. 2. The area around the urethral opening. This one surprises nearly everyone. Just above the vaginal entrance and below the clitoris lies a small, often overlooked zone, the urethral opening and the soft tissue around it. It's delicate, sensitive, and for many women, surprisingly pleasurable. I recall one woman in her late 60s telling me, "It's not the place I ever thought would matter, but when my husband touches me there softly, slowly, it's like a warm current, not a jolt. It lingers. It connects." That kind of touch, light as a feather, can activate powerful sensation without overwhelming the nervous system. In fact, less is more here. Why does this matter more as we age? Because our bodies change. Skin thins. Nerve endings become more sensitive. Dryness may increase. But attention to this specific area with slow fingertips, a warm hand, or even just intentional presence can evoke pleasure without pressure. It's not about arousal in the way most men think of it. It's about recognition, about feeling seen. And for many women, this kind of touch says, "I know you, I notice you, I cherish all of you, not just the obvious parts." In our next section, we'll reveal the 3rd area women prefer to be touched, one that often goes unnoticed but holds deep emotional and sensual power. 3. The inner vaginal wall, upper front, aka G-spot area. Now we arrive at the third and final area, a hidden, emotionally rich space, just a little deeper, often referred to as the G-spot. But it's not just about pleasure, it's about trust and presence and being known. The inner vaginal wall, specifically the upper front portion, can be incredibly responsive for many women, especially in long-term relationships where emotional connection plays an even bigger role. This area is located just 1 to 2 inches inside, angled upward toward the belly. When approached with care, not with fast or deep thrusts, but with gentle, steady pressure, it can create a warm, blooming wave of sensation, not fireworks, something deeper, something lasting. I remember an older couple, both in their 70s, who came to see me fearing that the spark was gone. During our conversation, the wife revealed something profound. She never liked deep or fast movement. What she longed for, she said, was slowness. Gentle, consistent contact in that inner zone, the kind that made her feel understood, not just touched. It's like a warm wave, she told me, starting small but filling the room. That's the power of this area. For men who ask, "How do I know I've found it?" here's what I tell them. You'll know by how she breathes, how her body softens, how she leans in instead of away. The G-spot doesn't shout, it responds in subtle, intimate ways. And for older couples where certain physical limitations or concerns may arise, this kind of gentle exploration can be more meaningful than ever. Touching this area with awareness says, I know your body now and I'm still learning it with love. But what about where not to touch? Now that we've explored the most welcomed areas, the ones that foster comfort, connection, and care, it's equally important to talk about the other side of intimacy. Because while there are zones that invite closeness, there are also areas that, for many women, carry discomfort, tension, or emotional pain, especially when touched without care or consent. And often, these are not the places men expect. In fact, some are areas men assume are always welcomed. But a woman's body changes with age, and so does her relationship to touch. Let's look at 3 places women over 50 commonly say they do not want to be touched, and why avoiding these areas can actually strengthen your bond. 1. The anus. This may come as no surprise to some, but for others, it will challenge long-held assumptions. The anus is often romanticized or seen as just another erogenous zone. But for many women, especially over 50, it's a place of anxiety, not arousal. In fact, recent research shows that the anus was the #1 area women reported not wanting to be touched. Why? Because for many, this area is tied not just to physical discomfort, but to emotional vulnerability. Women who have experienced trauma, medical complications, or simply feel unprepared for this type of contact often carry a strong need for protection over stimulation. One woman in her late 60s told me, "It's not that I don't love my husband, I just wish he'd notice when my body pulls away. I wish he'd ask first." That kind of honesty is common, but often unspoken. Here's the key: if you're ever unsure, ask. Gently, without pressure, and if the answer is no, respect it fully. Real intimacy isn't about pushing limits. It's about honoring boundaries. And when a woman feels completely safe from unwanted touch, she becomes far more likely to explore, open up, and trust deeper than ever before. 2. The cervix. The cervix is another area that's commonly misunderstood, sometimes even mythologized as a source of deep, intense pleasure. But for many women, especially those over 50, it can be just the opposite. In fact, in the same study mentioned earlier, the cervix was among the most frequently cited areas that women wish their partners would avoid during intimacy. Here's why: the cervix is a sensitive, protective area at the deepest part of the vaginal canal. And when touched too firmly or even unexpectedly, it can cause discomfort or pain. For women who've gone through menopause, childbirth, or experienced gynecological procedures, this sensitivity can become even more pronounced. One woman in her early 70s confided, "Every time my husband tries to reach as far as possible, I brace myself. I don't want to ruin the moment, but I wish he knew it doesn't feel good." These are the kinds of truths many women carry quietly out of love, but at the cost of comfort. This isn't about limiting exploration, it's about deepening respect. So if you've assumed deeper is better, consider this. The depth of connection matters more than the depth of touch. Coming up next, we'll uncover the third most avoided zone and why understanding it can unlock a new level of emotional safety for your partner. 3. The nipples. Now, here's one that might truly surprise you: the nipples. For years, we've been told this is one of the most erotic zones on a woman's body, and for many, it absolutely can be. But what people often don't discuss, especially in the context of aging, is that for women over 50 or 60, this area can sometimes become more uncomfortable than pleasurable. Why? Because hormonal changes, especially after menopause, can significantly increase breast sensitivity. What once felt arousing might now feel overwhelming or even painful. Unfortunately, many men go straight for this area without thinking, reaching out automatically, assuming it's always a green light. I remember a woman in her late 60s sharing a vulnerable moment in my office. "I love that my husband still desires me," she said, "but when he goes straight for my chest, I just wish he'd slow down and ask first. It makes me feel like a person again, not just a body." That honesty stuck with me. Because the truth is, it's not about avoiding this area altogether, it's about how you approach it. Nipples are incredibly sensitive, and that sensitivity can fluctuate. Some days a soft touch might feel wonderful, other days it might feel like too much, and often it's hard to predict. That's why the real key here is presence. Notice her breath. Watch her body language. Or simply ask, "Is this okay tonight?" These small moments of checking in can build profound trust. When you touch with that kind of care, you're doing more than engaging with her body. You're saying, "I'm still curious. I'm still learning. I still see you." And that kind of intention creates intimacy that lasts. A reminder for men who still want connection. If you're still here reading closely, paying attention, then you already stand apart, because that means you care. Not just about physical connection, but about emotional closeness. About making your partner feel seen, safe, and cherished, even decades into your relationship. And in case no one's told you lately, that matters. So many men come to me in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, wondering if it's too late. Maybe their bodies have changed. Maybe intimacy has been distant for a long time. Maybe they just don't know how to start again. Here's what I tell them, and what I want you to know. It's never too late. It's never too late to reconnect. It's never too late to rediscover. It's never too late to love more deeply, more gently. Connection in this stage of life looks different. It's not about performance, it's about presence. It's about making your partner feel valued, not just for her body, but for her whole self. And when you lead with that kind of intention, something beautiful happens. She softens. Her walls come down. Trust returns. From there, real intimacy begins again. So please don't give up. Don't assume the best days are behind you. Sometimes the most meaningful chapter in love comes not in the beginning, but in the quiet, steady years that follow. One final thought. If there's one thing I hope you carry with you after this conversation, it's this. Intimacy doesn't fade with age, it evolves. And in that evolution lies a beautiful invitation to slow down, to relearn, to listen with more heart than ever before. Because what matters most now isn't how much you know, but how present you're willing to be. We've talked about the 3 areas women tend to enjoy most: the entrance of the vagina, the area around the urethral opening, the inner front vaginal wall. And we've explored the 3 areas many women over 50 may prefer you avoid: the anus, the cervix, the nipples, especially when touched without care. Not because they don't trust you, but because their bodies are asking for something different. Now, something slower, gentler, more thoughtful. And maybe, just maybe, this stage of life isn't about recreating what once was, but about creating something entirely new. A new kind of intimacy built not on urgency, but on understanding. Not on routine, but on rediscovery. I've seen this transformation in countless couples the moment one partner chooses to truly listen, and everything shifts. It's quiet, it's tender, it's real. So if you still want closeness, if you long for your partner to lean in just a little more, know this. It doesn't begin with your hands. It begins with your attention, with your willingness to ask, to learn to care. That's the kind of touch that lasts. Thank you for being here.